Yeah, so welcome back to Mecha Rewatch. We're here with episode 4, which covers episodes 6 and 7 of Gundam Wing.
Yep, it sure is going to do that. It's going to cover a mediocre episode and then an excellent episode.
Yeah, one of these episodes is inconsequential, largely.
It's not inconsequential because it's entirely about the plot that the show writers think is the plot of this show. Right?
Weirdly, yes.
Like, there's just this weird dichotomy of... There are two shows happening here. One is this, like, military fiction mecha show with, like...
Politics.
Politics and betrayals and war and stuff. And then the other one is this romance show between Tiro Yui and Berlina. And it definitely thinks that that's the primary plot and that the mechs are in the background. And I think you could make a really good show like that. I think you could make a romance with a war in the background and have it be... that's Casablanca. Casablanca's excellent.
Yeah.
This ain't Casablanca.
No. Yeah, so we start episode 6. Oh, actually, there's a couple details we missed in our previous episode.
We missed something really important.
Something important and then something less important but does lend some context to the opening scene here. The important thing that we missed was the
interview.
Yeah.
Lady Un gives an interview after the assassination.
I thought that was the less important thing that adds context.
Okay. It's important to what's going to happen in episode 7.
It is.
But she gives an interview after the assassination of Foreign Minister Dorlin.
Claiming that it was
a colonial attack.
Yeah, a terrorist attack.
A terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And people believe that. Sure, foment's war, good stuff.
Yep.
And then
we actually forgot what the other one was.
It was really important. It seemed like it at the time. Oh well.
Yeah.
If it wasn't important,
well, I'm sure if it was important, we'll remember it later.
It was Relina related. I'm sure it was.
It was something. Look, a lot happened in these two episodes. It has
Episode 7 was really good, and we're kind of, like, reeling from, like, well, that episode was really good, and I remember all the things from it, and the episode before it is just kind of like, some stuff happened, like...
Yeah, so episode 6, the mediocre episode of the two. So we start with Relina pulling up to her house and getting mobbed by reporters.
Has returned to Earth and is being mobbed by reporters because her dad just got assassinated.
Yeah, and they're asking if this is the colonies declaring war. There's all sorts of things. Obviously, she doesn't answer.
Relina's in the car. She's not even, like, responding to the interviewers. They're just mobbing her car.
Yeah. Hoping to get some sort of soundbite. I mean, they do that in real life.
Yeah, I sure do.
Paparazzi is paparazzi. But what happens then is she actually goes... she sees her mother.
Yeah. We get some shots of her mother. Her mother is sad.
She comes in. Says she's sorry that she couldn't save her father.
Which is, like... I don't think anybody would have expected you to do that, but okay.
Yeah.
People grieve in different ways. Then she, like, throws her arms around her mom and is like, you'll always be my real mom.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the gist of that scene.
And I don't think we see her mom ever again.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just good, because we don't need to.
We don't. We don't. We cut to an Oz base, and it's an intercut here. Because it's an intercut where Lady Un is at this Oz base, like, by herself.
Yeah, it looks like she's just landed and has, like, commandeered a console to, like, call in the results of her mission.
Yeah,
basically.
And she's calling in the results of her mission to Treize.
Yeah, and Treize is like, you left loose ends. That's unlike you.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll take care of it.
Okay.
We know who it is. It's not hard.
And he goes, okay, well, take 5... She goes, we might want, like, a mobile suit.
Yeah.
And he's like, take 5.
Yeah.
That's a lot. She literally says, like, why that many?
Yeah. And he's like, well, because you might get attacked by a Gundam. Because Treize has noticed. This is interesting, because we kind of figured... We found this out from the doctor in the last session. But Treize has noticed that all of the attacks are on Oz personnel.
Yep.
Right. Treize is smart. He's realized that every attack has been against Oz. So he's like, well, the Gundam might show up because this is an Oz operation, and they seem to be really well tied in to what we're doing because they know who the Oz personnel are and where they are.
Yeah, and this is all, like, while he's releasing a couple, like, canaries?
Yeah, something to that effect.
Birds. He's releasing a pair of birds from a cage.
Yeah, he's got some birds. He's a weird dude.
Yeah. He shoots birds. He keeps birds.
These are smaller, like... But yeah, he has them... He has them in this, like... You know those dinner plates that have the, like... a top on them, and you reveal the top, and, you know, fancy, like, serving.
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's a cage, and you can, like, pull the top off to let the birds out.
I'm sure bird cages like that exist. I never
guess
seen one.
Yeah, it's weird. It's whatever. He's a weird dude.
Look, he
still hasn't gotten his rose-scented bubble bath. And I don't
at least to our knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, well, she said she was going to bring it to him when she doesn't go see him in person.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, because loose ends, you know.
Maybe she'll have it, you know, delivered to him.
Yeah, maybe she...
Have it DoorDashed. Or maybe he just doesn't bathe that often. We don't get a lot of indication about how these characters smell.
We do not. Well, after that, we cut to a party.
Yep.
And Hiro is shut in his
bombastic party.
Yeah, like this is like their prom or something. Or
they're playing some downbeat music for a prom.
Well, notably, the music that the orchestra ostensibly is playing is like some like Star Wars-esque like important music.
Yeah, it's like they're playing the, I don't know, anthem or something. It's
weird,
odd. I feel like it should be her dad's funeral. Because her dad presumably is going to have a state funeral. Yeah. This being her dad's state funeral would make sense.
He's not just an ambassador. We've been.
He's foreign minister. He's an ambassador. He's foreign minister.
No, he's vice foreign minister.
You're right. There is a foreign minister above him apparently, which is fascinating. But yeah, you would think he would get like a state funeral. And why that would be at her school, who knows? But it is. It feels like, in context, this should be his funeral, but it doesn't seem to be.
No, it seems to be just a party.
Everyone else is dressed up, but then she wears her school uniform.
Because apparently her dress wasn't ready in time.
Which is... okay. Which also scans with this being a funeral because it's impromptu. Right? If this was a scheduled event, the dress would have been ready weeks ago.
Well, right? You would think, for sure,
but
it's not a funeral. It's not a wake or anything like that. It doesn't
seem like a wake or a funeral.
No, it just kind of seems like a random party at rich kid's school.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, I guess.
I don't know. Look, maybe these people have very strange traditions around death. Yeah, I don't know. They're not our culture.
Relina gets uselessly consoled by friends, and while this is happening, well, it's kind of not intercutting, but it briefly before this, it cuts to Hiro transferring...
He's transferring out of the school and like erasing all record of him because he doesn't need to be here anymore. He has his mech. He's going to go do missions.
Yeah.
And Relina overhears from someone, you know, wow, Hiro's transferring out of the school. He's only been here a month. And she's like, oh my god, Hiro! And then runs up to his room.
Yeah, and then they have a whole conversation.
A confrontation, which is... I don't know. This one's actually kind of cute.
It is.
Because she reveals to him that she met Dr. J and knows like what's going on with him, and he's like shocked, and she's like, "Aha, you do feel emotion."
And notably, this is the first time we kind of see Hiro like visibly rattled. Like this.
He's like, what? And he pulls a gun on her. Notably, He pulls a gun on her, and then she reveals, I talked to Dr. J. I know what's going on. I know better than you, actually, baby. And then she's like, still while at gunpoint, he points a gun at her this entire time. She's like, well, it would be a shame for you to leave. Like, you're not ready to leave yet, and there's still a party going on.
And killing me would draw attention.
Killing me would draw attention. so you might as well stay and dance. And then she curtsies, and then the scene ends.
Because
we'll see them dancing later, but
it cuts to another naval base attack.
Yup, a lot of naval bases get attacked.
This one by Wu Fei.
Yeah, Oz seems to be very hooked into the Navy in particular.
Yeah, it's Wu Fei attacking.
Yeah,
pretty cool attack.
It is. It's cool.
He has one line. It's a very short scene. I don't know why it was even in here.
Yeah, this is where he's just like, you shouldn't have let your enemy
get this
penetrate
close,
your defenses,
your
and it's like
security sucks.
I mean, that's true.
And then ends with no.
Yeah, that's it. He just killing more dudes. Wu Fei the murder monster. I think it's just because they felt like they needed to include him, but he doesn't have any plot going on right now.
No.
So they just show him attacking things randomly.
To show, hey, Wu Fei's still here.
Wu Fei's still here. He's still doing stuff. He's arguably doing more than the rest of the mech pilots, which is kind of relevant.
Yeah, because notably we cut away from that immediately and go to the circus where Troa has arrived late.
Troa is late to his circus job, but he's dressed up. He's got face paint. No, it's not face paint. It's a mask.
Yeah, it's a half mask.
Which, sure, whatever. He looks like a circus performer. He is a circus performer. And they've apparently never rehearsed this show.
Yeah, notably
because they're like, I wonder if he's gonna be any good at it.
Well, and notably, it's the his decoy love interest.
Yeah, his decoy love interest who is female, and we know he doesn't. Well, maybe he's bi. She's into him. She's really into him.
She is really into him.
But the act they're gonna do, he does one act at the circus, and apparently this is enough to sustain his mech operations. The circus must pay really well.
This must be a really high paying.
I wanna work at a circus that pays enough to conduct military operations. That sounds rad.
That pays enough to conduct military operations.
And the only
doesn't ask questions.
Yeah, and the only job. Well, it does ask questions. He just doesn't answer them.
That's true.
But the only job he has to do is stand there because he's the guy on the wheel who gets knives thrown at him. That's his, as far as we know, whole job.
Yeah.
Is just to stand there
and
while she throws 8 knives at him.
Not even while the wheel is spinning.
No, they don't spin the wheel or anything. He just is crucified on it. And then she's really into this. She really likes throwing knives at guys she's into. She's actually a little disappointed that he's not afraid, because she apparently gets off. It's implied she gets off on them being afraid of this. And he's not. He just is like a statue.
I can see why this job position was open.
Yeah, the statue staring her in the eye, right?
And then,
which she throws a bunch of knives.
Yeah.
They don't hit him, obviously, because she's mildly competent. And then she gets thrown off by how stoic he is and doesn't care, and throws her last 2 knives, admittedly at the same time, which is a neat trick. And one of them kind of vaguely grazes his head, and she's a little upset because she screwed up. And that's...
She infers that he wants to die.
Yeah, she's like, oh my god, he wants to die. And then, it's kind of implied that she's considering, killing him? I will grant... it seems she's gonna... Because the way it grazes his head and stuff, it seems like she's the reason she almost hits him, or does hit him, vaguely...
Well, because she waffles on these last 2 knives.
She waffles on the last 2 knives. It seems like she's considering, hitting him in the eye and killing him. Which is...
I will grant you the swift release.
I grant you your desire. It's very odd.
It's very odd.
But it does lead to just an amazing conversation.
And an amazing line.
Yeah, because we immediately... Is there a scene between...
No, there's not a scene between.
I would have expected one.
Yeah, I would have too.
But we don't. So this is backstage afterwards, and she comes up ostensibly to apologize, although she doesn't till the end. But she's just like, why didn't you dodge? She victim blames him. Why didn't you dodge that knife? And he just says, I'm not paid to dodge.
And she kind of waffles on a little bit, is a
Yeah.
little flustered by this, and then she goes, "Oh, I haven't even
Why
apologized."
did you apologize?
She says, "Oh yeah," she says that his eyes have have the same look as the lion behind him, because he's
Which
sitting in
the
front of the
lion
lion
is
cage.
insulted by.
The lion roars at her.
Yeah, the
and
lion
she's
is like, don't compare me to this dweeb.
yeah.
And then she flirts with him some more, but the whole thing is just very like, yeah, okay, we get it. He's the emotionless monster.
Well, especially because because then she apologizes.
Oh, and she tells him to smile more.
Well,
like three times.
Yeah, she apologizes to him, and then he basically is like, "Shut up! I'm not interested."
Yeah, shut up! I don't care.
Yeah,
I like men.
I mean,
you know,
you could infer that with the previous interactions.
You really could. But that's not what he says. He
No.
just tells her shut up, and she just is
shouts
like,
after him to smile more.
well, she says it twice because she says it sort of kind of at the start. You should smile more. You have a really pretty smile, and it's like, well, this dynamic would be really problematic if it was a guy saying it to a girl, but a girl saying it to a guy is kind of funny, especially for the 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. He's a stoic badass. We get it. I mean, it's fun. It's funny. She's funny.
Yep. So then we cut back to the party where Hito and Relina are dancing.
They sure are. And also having a conversation while dancing about how, like, she knows too much about him.
And she asks him if he's still going to kill her. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I am.
And she goes, well, I'm on your side now.
And she says, I know how you feel because I'm on your side now.
Yeah, she goes, I know how you feel when you go into when you fight.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not sure you do, but okay.
Bold of you to assert that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess she has technically been in combat now, so maybe.
Yeah, she's gotten over the death of her father real.
There's actually a conversation about that.
Yeah.
When her friends come to console her at the beginning of the party, they're like, you're really not broken up about your dad being dead. And she's like, he wouldn't want me to be sad. Everyone has to, you can't go on grieving forever.
He wasn't my real dad.
She doesn't say that, but like, you know. But yeah, they're dancing. It's a good time. I mean, she's into it. He's like, I have to be here.
Yeah. That is actually very much like it. And then he notices
an
Oz military craft approaching.
Yeah, an Oz transport above the school. Specifically, I think he says a mobile suit transport.
Yeah.
Like he with his, Mark 1 human eyeball can see a transport up in the sky and notably identify its markings.
That transport is flying pretty low.
Yeah, but he knows it's an Oz transport.
That's the weird
impressive.
Part. Yeah.
Anyway, and it's like, oh my god, we're under attack.
If you've ever lived near a military base, an air base, and you've seen military craft fly over, or frankly any aircraft fly over at lower-ish altitudes, you can't see the markings on the side.
Identifying military aircraft is a skill. It's a very difficult skill, one that he's apparently extremely good at.
Yep. And I guess that scans.
Yeah. He's superhuman. He has super eyes.
Yeah, naturally. So Lady Yun has arrived with her 5 mobile suits.
Yep, sure has.
3 of them are dropped immediately.
He thinks he's been made. They're like, they've come for me because they figured out I'm hiding here.
Because notably, the transport starts dropping mobile suits.
Yeah, he has no idea that, no, they're there for Relina because they want to assassinate her. Like, he thinks that they've found him and are attacking him. Has no idea they're attacking Relina.
No. And they're surprised because
oh my god, here. Not only has the Gundam come to get the Gundam is already here. It is ambushing us. Like he destroys one of their mobile suits immediately.
Yeah, like they're in the middle
before
of
he stands
drop.
Up, right? He literally fires while laying on the ground and kills one. Because he apparently he just hides his mobile suit by just laying it out in the woods. Yeah. Like nobody has come across this.
It's just been lounging in the woods.
It's just been laying there.
Yeah.
It doesn't even seem to have been covered up.
No.
Okay.
And Lady Yun's like, oh crap, a Gundam's here.
A Gundam. Oh my god.
Launch the other 2 mobile suits.
Yeah, launch all our mobile suits. Let's. She says capture it, which is like, well, we can't even. We'll be lucky to survive this fight, much less kill or capture it.
Yeah.
But okay, ma'am.
Yeah, he kills.
She actually gets in a bit of a fight with her subordinate.
Before they
because
drop.
He's like,
yeah.
I don't feel good about, like, he says a civilian installation, subtext, a school full of children.
Yeah.
Right. And
who are now all running and scrambling.
Well, they aren't yet.
Well,
this is before the...
yeah.
But yeah, and she's just like, well, if you won't do it, I'll find someone who can. And then he's like, sorry. He apologizes for his subordination, which is
that had to
just
be
a bad
like,
line read.
Yeah, either a bad line read or like... Yeah, I'm guessing it's just a bad line read that they just didn't catch.
It should be, insubordination, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm so submissive, ma'am. Lady Un would never have you apologize for that.
No.
Which is weird, because, like, she's very domineering until Treize is around, and then Treize is clearly the dom.
Yeah, clearly. So then we actually cut really quick to Ketra,
Yes.
who is at a computer in his like desert mansion.
Yeah, he is realizing that it's not a mansion, it's like a tent. He has like a Bedouin tent.
No, he's in the top floor of like a mansion in this scene.
Normally
he's got the Bedouin tent, but this time he's got a like actual mansion.
Whatever, he's got a house.
Yeah, because he's in like an actual room, like with walls and floors.
It's a very fancy tent.
I mean, it's Ketra. He's loaded. It might be.
It's just look. When you've got Bedouins with money, make some tents. Let me tell you.
That's fair.
But have you ever seen, like Gaddafi's tent? Anyway,
he's looking at a map and realizing that there's other people who are hitting Oz installations specifically.
Yeah, there are other pilots who are hitting Oz installations. I wonder if I could meet them all. Spoilers, he will.
And not too far off either.
Yeah.
So then it cuts back to Hiro fighting off the assassination team.
Yeah.
And Relina's classmates are...
They're like huddling and crying, and she just...
to be fair, they did almost get vaporized by a rogue artillery round.
No, they have reason to be huddling and crying. I'm not criticizing them for that.
But
she is just like, nah, I've been shot at before. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, she's like, I've been in a like I've been extracted by like rebels.
Unclear.
I've been around this shit. She's been there before.
I do not fear death. I have lost my fear of death.
I have ascended.
Yeah.
Stop. She tells them to stop crying.
Yeah, she's like, stop crying and run away. And they're like, yes. And then they do. And that's it. I think that's the last time we ever see Relina's friends.
Yeah. I think that is the last time we ever see them in the entire show. Yeah.
We can presume they live, but maybe not, because there's some stray rounds later in this. Well,
notably, the school is reduced to rubble.
No, that one tower is reduced to rubble. Not the whole school.
Pretty battered. But anyway, anyhow.
But yeah.
Then by this point, Hiro has killed the third mobile suit.
Yeah, he IDs them. This is where they launched the other two suits, and he's fighting them. It's fine.
Yeah. A fight happens. There's much fighting.
They're down to one enemy suit is what we eventually get to.
We also cut to Duo's Outer Heaven during this.
We do.
Where he remarks upon the moon.
Yeah, his colony is apparently close to the moon. So we have the location of one colony, because he says the moon looks really nice from Earth because it's way too close when you're up in the colony. So his colony, at least, is in presumably lunar orbit.
Yeah, and he remarks that Hiro probably doesn't even look at the moon.
Yeah, which is lunar orbit is a strange place to put a space colony. Why not just put it on the moon? But okay, maybe just on the moon. Maybe no, because I think we know that they're all space based.
I think there is a lunar base that's mentioned at some point, though.
Probably.
Anyhow,
there'll be more space stuff later. So
much more.
We'll get to space stuff.
More space stuff.
Which Gundam's best stuff is always the space stuff. But yeah, he just kind of talks to Hawaiian shirt guy.
Yep. And then we cut back to the ballroom blitz.
We sure do. So, like, something hits the, like, tower. There's rubble falling. Oh, no, first, Relina, like, yells at Wing Gundam and is like, "Is that you, Hiro Yui? Answer me." Like, she's just mad at him because he won't talk to her, and you really want him to be like, "Woman, I am in a battle."
There are still 2 enemy mobile suits shooting rockets at us.
Enemy mobile suits shooting at us. Like, I am in a fight. But that's not what he says. He doesn't say anything. He just ignores her.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Presumably because he doesn't want to out himself. Like,
well, he just doesn't care. He doesn't like her. He doesn't care. He doesn't want anything to do with her. He has mobile suits to kill, right?
Yeah, well, and before he kills those mobile suits, though, he has to save Relina from the falling tower.
Yeah, well, so this is what we get to,
shot.
right? Is that while she's out there yelling at him, a stray shot hits the, like, tower of the school and falls on her. And then he does, like, turn and have his shield, like block the rubble from hitting her. And then he just kind of sits there and is like, why did I do that? Everything would be better for me if she was dead. Like,
this show would be better.
Also that. Like I said, everything would be better for him if she was dead. And yeah, he sits there for a while because the enemy suit, like, shoots him. He's, like, pounding shots into his back. His mech is made of Gundanium. He doesn't care. And he's just like, why can't I kill this girl?
And it
right?
notably cuts back to the suit carrier really quick because they say, no, it's confirmed. The Gundam's protecting Dorland's daughter.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, that's weird.
And then Hiro gets, like, fed up, basically, and just turns around and ices the 2 mobile suits.
Ices the last guy. Like, notably, with a really cool, like, he, like, whips around and, like, puts his spear through the mech's head.
Well, shield, but
Or his shield, rather. The point of his shield.
He has a very pointy shield.
And it, like, explodes. This causes it to explode because, again, everybody gets stack holes. And then again, he turns around and, like, tries to kill Relina. He tries to also hit her with the shield point, and, like, it, like, goes past her by, like, inches. And he's just like, oh my god, why can't I kill her?
And he has this whole, like, kind of not crisis of faith, but very much a, like...
Hiro Yui is not experienced with the emotion of, like, I don't want to call it love, but, like, any kind of positive emotion towards another human being. Mm-hmm. And so he's literally trying to kill this person, going, this is so weird. Why won't my brain let me murder this person?
Yeah. And then he flies away.
Yeah, and then he's just kind of like, screw it, transforms into the wing version. We get the full transformation sequence here. Very rare.
Yeah, we do.
And then he flies away. And she yells more and is like, Hiro Yui, talk to me.
And then we cut... Well, then we go to Lady Noin, who's like, well, I'll go down there and do it myself. Or Lady Un.
Lady Un is like, I'll go down there and kill her myself. This is actually while the Gundam is still there. And Treize is like, no, just call the mission off. And she's like, but she's still alive. And Treize is like, no, it's fine. Don't think of this as a failure. You encountered a Gundam you weren't expecting. It's okay. Come on home. And she's like, okay, yes, sir. We can kind of infer that him reassuring her that it's not a failure is very important to her.
Yeah.
Either because she just doesn't like failing Treize, or because he would, like, murder her for failure. He's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
He basically assures her that he's not going to Darth Vader her when she gets back.
Yeah.
And then
apology accepted, Lady Un.
Yeah, basically, right? But then we get to sort of Treize's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out he's talking to Noin at the same time, and the reason he's actually called this off is that he is doing a favor for Zex. Because Zex has done a lot for him, and the favor that he is doing for Zex is not killing Relina, because as he says, I didn't know he still had a blood relative alive. Mm-hmm. And because of what we know in the last few episodes, we know Relina's a peacecraft, therefore we can infer that Zex is a peacecraft.
Of some description.
Of some description. And then Treize remarks on, like, he's basically like, I don't understand why Zex keeps working for me, because I'm evil. Yeah. And then his birds come back and land on his finger, and he's like, it makes some comment about, I can't remember what he says.
He says, oh, so you'd rather stay here after all, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's weird.
There's some symbolism in there.
It's symbolism, but then, like, Treize draws the wrong conclusion from this. Like, because the answer should be, because I feed you, right? But I don't know. Whatever. It's weird. Treize is a weird guy. Yeah. But the revelation here, the important revelation, is that Zex is a peacecraft, and that he has specifically, like, asked Treize not to kill Relina, and Treize has done that.
Yeah. So then we go to episode 7 here.
Yeah, and that's the end of that episode. Good.
Because
some revelations, some important revelations, but not a great episode overall. And now we have an absolute banger of an episode.
Oh yeah, this episode's really
this
good.
This episode is rad.
This is my favorite episode so far.
Oh, easily.
It's got everything you could want.
It's got everything, and it doesn't... This show gets better and better as it goes, because it doesn't have to exposit as much. It really struggles with exposition. Yeah. And it really does well when you know who all the characters are and they're just doing things.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be starting a trend where episodes are going to be a lot more focused.
Yes, they're going focused on a thing that's actually happening. They're not going to jump between characters all the time. Mostly because those characters will be, like, in the same places. Yeah. And they'll be doing something that's important.
And so we actually start with an aircraft arriving at the New Edwards Air Base.
Yes.
And Treize is talking to Lady Un in his office.
Yeah. He does not, in fact, force choke her.
No.
As much as she might like him to.
Probably.
She gives that vibe off.
She does give that vibe off.
Regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they mostly just
they're talking... Is this where we find out that he's set the whole thing up?
Not quite yet. Well, it's discussed that the Alliance chiefs, like the head...
All of the head Alliance people... Well, we get, like, a news report. They're all meeting up to discuss the mobile suit problem.
Mm-hmm.
And Treize is like, haha, my evil plan is coming together.
Yeah, basically. He's talking... He basically hints... It's almost time kind of thing.
They're talking about troop deployments around the world. We don't know why they're deploying troops around the world yet, but they're talking about how many troops there are deployed in different places. They talk about how Zex is deployed to Nairobi, and they don't have as many troops there as everywhere else, but Zex is really good, so it's okay.
Because Treize asks why he's in Nairobi. He's like, shouldn't we be using him at, like, a more vital...
location. Like, well, we're short on troops in Nairobi, so he's gonna, like, make up the difference, basically. And that's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
But again, we don't know what these troops are for yet. We just know that they are deploying troops around the world.
And Hiro, this is where we cut to Hiro receiving his mission, that there is a gathering of Oz leaders at the New Edwards base.
Correct.
And so he's gonna get ready to do that. And this is where we cut to all the Gundams are gonna start in, like, kind of in character sequence. Yeah. Getting together, not together, but they're gonna be acquiring their transports to get to...
Yes. They've all received this same mission to get to New Orleans, except we never see Wu Fei.
We never see Wu Fei.
We see 4 out of 5 get these orders to go to New Edwards, and we don't see Wu Fei.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be relevant. I hate him, but this is important in this episode.
Yeah. So we cut to the circus first, where
we do.
The
Once
circus
again, the
director-
circus manager is mad that
Troa's just
gone.
vanished.
Yeah. Where is that kid? And knife thrower, I want to call her knife juggler, but she doesn't even juggle them, she just throws them. Is like, oh, it'll be fine, and you won't fire him because he's so good at his job of standing still for, what, a minute, maybe 2 tops. It's not even a performance.
Yeah.
He doesn't, like, woo the crown or anything. But apparently they can't
there
find
has to be more he's doing for this circus.
It has to be, right?
Maybe he takes care of like the lion.
Maybe because the lion does like him. But it definitely like I don't know. He's getting paid. Whatever. It's not my problem.
Yeah, and then we cut to the desert with the Magwanaut Corps, and
they're Kedra has already left, and they're discussing how he didn't take them with him.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he would have been safer if he had taken us with him, and they're like, yeah, but he didn't, and he's
long gone really, now. Yeah,
he's gone now. We can't catch him. And then we cut to Ketra in a payphone booth, getting a hotel room,
booking a 5-star hotel room.
Booking a 5-star hotel room. Does this ever pay off? Does it matter? I didn't think so.
No, we never see him at that hotel room.
But while he's standing in this booth...
Well, his suit's getting loaded up.
His suit is getting loaded onto the boat, and he sees Troa also loading his suit onto the boat, and is like, oh... Like, while he's still on the phone with the concierge, like, oh, it's Troa. Like, and then they cut away, but, like, a strong implication that, like... I'm gonna need that to be a king bed.
Well, they don't cut away. They sort of cut away. They cut away to the hangar.
They cut to them like now being in the boat talking to each other. And he's like, "Hey, we should like do a team up."
Well, basically, he's like, "Oh, hey, we meet again." And Tro is like, "I'm doing this alone."
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm also doing this alone, but maybe we could help each other while doing this alone."
Yeah, maybe we could do it together.
Maybe we could do it together alone. Like he's clearly like read in on Tro and is like, "I get that you want to do this alone. You could. What if you did it alone, but I was also there, but you were still totally alone? I swear." Like
yeah, Kedra is actually like weirdly good at handling people compared to the rest of the Gundam pilots.
It's funny because Ketra and Duo are each like the friendly ones who have been paired with the antisocial one. Mm-hmm. You get the feeling that if Ketra and Duo had found each other, they would just be going on joint missions constantly.
Oh yeah, they'd be hanging out on like either in like Ketra's like Berber camp or like.
And crucially, they're also the two that have support, right? Because Duo has his like
outer
floating
heaven
base, and Ketra has his like Magwanaut Corps. Like they're the two that can manage people, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, it's really useful that each of them found one of the people who doesn't have any support because they needed them. It's like this was planned, which you know,
yeah.
Put a pin in that one for later.
Not even the colony command though likes Wu Fei. He doesn't get a support.
Well, look, he's like Wu Fei is like the stealth one. I think he is. They try to set him up. Except the Death Scythe is also like the stealth one. Weird. So he's Wu Fei. He's the Wu Fei.
Yeah, he is the Wu Fei.
He woos the Fei.
But yeah, so we cut to a base that's being attacked by Hiro.
Yes.
And Hiro knocks out a couple guards, gets into one of those mobile suit transports,
and starts like flicking on the like pre-flight checks.
And then he notices the door is open.
Well, yeah, one of them is red, and he's like, "The door is open. I didn't open the door."
And so he thinks, "Oh, I bet like some guys are like noticed me getting into the plane. They probably are gonna." And then he goes with gun drawn to the hangar, and Duo's like, "Yo, best buddy!"
Yeah, it's Duo in there, having already loaded the death sight into the plane, and he's like, "Hey, load yours in too, and I'll fly." Like, unclear if he's forgetting or ignoring the fact that Gundam Wing flies.
It's
Hiro
weird
doesn't need this plane.
Yeah, but Hiro was gonna load his mech into it anyway. Otherwise, why steal the plane to begin with?
I don't know.
I don't know why.
It's very odd.
It can't be fuel, could it?
None of them seem to have any kind of fuel constraints.
It's weird.
Is it slow? It doesn't seem slow.
No.
Like, maybe it's because it's inconspicuous. The only thing I think of is that Gundam Wing is not stealthy, and that he doesn't want to be like shot down by SAM sites.
I mean, that's possible because New Edwards is like the biggest base that we see get attacked so far.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about the attack on New Edwards. He doesn't want to be picked up by radar on the way.
Well, yeah,
right. He's gonna have to fly past multiple airspaces.
He's no longer just attacking random naval bases.
Right, and he's not operating in his local area anymore. He's to get New Edwards.
Yep.
So that's the only thing I think of for disguise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
So we actually cut to New Edwards where they briefly mention that now that this other plane that we saw landed, they have a great number of troops.
Sure do. No more specificity. Just how many troops do we have? A lot.
Yeah. And the Alliance military leaders start arriving.
Yeah. We have Field Marshal Zhukov and Nappa and
notably one of these generals is definitely voiced by the guy who voices
General Septim
Nappa.
is definitely voiced by the guy who voices Nappa. Yeah. Like, he sounds exactly like him.
Septim. And
is it Septim or
it's Septim?
Is Septim okay?
Septim.
Like the Emperor in Oblivion? Okay. Or like your notes? What a weird name.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I mean, we have General Noventus.
General Noventus, yeah. And I can't remember what the Field Marshal's name is.
It's Field Marshal Vente. As opposed to...
No, it's General Vente, I thought. And Field Marshal... It doesn't matter.
No,
they're just high-ranking military
it's
members.
Because it's General Noventus, because he's the high general. He's like the guy in the white uniform.
Sure.
And then there's General Septim and Field Marshal Vente.
Sure.
As opposed to General... Or no, I don't think... Did they mention Field Marshal? Or maybe
they do. One of them is Field Marshal.
Oh, maybe it was Noventus, who's the...
I think it's Field Marshal Noventus.
Yeah.
Which Field Marshal's a weird rank for your, like, Supreme Commander. Field is in the name for a reason.
Yeah.
But sure.
I mean, it sounded big and important.
General Septim is the... space guy, specifically, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he's the head of the space
Which
forces.
is why it'll come up pretty quickly. He doesn't like the colonies. No. Probably because he's the space guy.
And, so they're all, as they're all, like, kind of being introduced and getting gathered up in the chamber, Treize and Un also arrive. And briefly,
this is where they start talking about, like, it being leaked to the Gundam pilots that this is an Oz meeting.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not. It's a Alliance military meeting.
Yep. And we then cut to Zex in an aircraft with Noin and the lads.
Yes.
And there's a whole slew of aircraft, mobile suit transports.
And they get like a call from the local base that's like, why are you in our airspace? What are you doing here? And they're like, we're on a... They give the classic excuse that everyone who's had nefarious military purposes has ever given for all of time. We're on a training exercise.
This is just a big aerial training exercise.
This is just a training exercise. Like, man, every time.
Every time.
Never... Anyone ever tell... If I'm ever a radio operator and somebody tells me they're on a training exercise, I'm ordering that person shot down immediately. Or shot at. Or...
Whatever. Yeah.
It's never a training exercise.
Like, as soon as you hear the... why are you invading our airspace? Oh, we're on a military exercise. That's when you immediately turn around and you go, we're about to be attacked.
Yeah, we're about to be attacked. Which is funny. In real life, this happens pretty frequently, and it is an exercise. The reason this is a trope is because the Americans and the Soviets used to do this to each other all the time.
Well, and notably the Soviets did it to excuse their buildup for, their Ukrainian excursion, their special military operation.
Very recently. I was thinking more during the Cold War, but where it really would be nothing. They really would, they basically, we're going to go dance around 1 mile outside your territorial waters because we're allowed to do that, and we're going to call it a training exercise, and we're basically just gonna flash our colors at you.
Yeah, flash our colors, blow raspberries, flip you off.
And the U.S. did this in the Pacific constantly.
Yeah.
Right. We loved our we're going to go do a training exercise in between China and Taiwan.
Well, and Russia would do it too on
absolutely
on the Chinese border, and also on the border on their borders with the Soviet Union's borders with NATO, with armored exercises.
Yeah, this is a classic thing that militaries really do. Of we're gonna go hang out and say we're doing a training exercise, and everyone else is gonna be on high alert for the entire time because it might be an attack, because it's just impossible to tell the difference.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the conference, and there's a lot of discussion going on.
We get a wide shot of the conference, which is really funny because everyone is in their normal green uniforms except for the one blue uniform and the one red uniform.
Well, they're in the Alliance khaki, sort of green, more olive drab.
Yeah, it's olive. But
there's two uniforms that stick out. Well, Field Marshal Noventes has his white.
But he's up on stage in white, so it is normal that he's separate.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't look weird.
And also, it makes sense for him to have a different uniform. He's the Grand Commander.
It doesn't look weird that he's different, but there's just this red dot and this blue dot in the middle of this sea of olive.
Yeah, and it's Treize and
Treize and Un.
You can tell immediately.
So weird. This shot would be a lot more normal if they all wore different colors. Right? Because notably, one of the things that comes up in this scene, it's not going to matter much longer, but is that this is basically the UN. It's like a militarized UN. There are still nations on Earth that are separate. This is their unified military structure, kind of.
Yeah.
And so it would totally make sense for them to have different national uniforms and then all come to this conference together.
Yeah.
They don't do that, but it would make sense.
Well, and they mentioned that the reason that the Alliance military was created was to deter national militaries
so
from
we don't all
shenanigans.
fight each other.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's totally a reasonable idea. Kind of if there was a unified EU military or something.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And they mentioned that this organization has gotten to the point where it's basically become its own armed entity.
Right.
And that they should maybe start reducing forces.
Yeah.
And
there's also
Nappa
a lot of talk about what do we do with the colonies?
Nappa shouts "You say reduce the forces!"
Yeah.
Which makes sense for him to be a little perturbed by that, because he's the space commander.
He's the space commander, which is the place where things are actually happening.
Yeah, and so when you're the commander of the potential hot zone, and they're telling you, no, you should reduce your forces. It's actually kind of understandable. That he's opposed
there's
to
kind of an implication. It's not said outright, but there's kind of an implication of we're going to reduce our forces and rely on these specials guys more.
Yeah,
which is what I think Sepsis really doesn't like.
Yeah. And there's also discussion about having peace with the colonies.
Yeah. They are committed to peace, right? They multiple times it's brought up this is a direct attack on us by these mobile suits, and they're no, it's okay. We'll make peace with the colonies, and they'll call them off. We do not want war. We are committed to the concept of peace. To the point that we will make peace while they are actively shooting at us,
which is commendable.
Extremely commendable.
Well, and so we get,
and then we get Treize going. Yeah, that's what I thought they would say. Well, they're all gonna have to die.
That's basically what he says.
That's basically what he says.
I guess
he thought it was gonna be like that.
Yeah, well, because he does mention earlier that it is up to what they decide.
Yeah.
Whether or not they go through with their...
Well, and even Lady Un is like, oh, well, they said the thing. Should I activate the coup protocols? And he's like, not yet. We got one more thing to do, and then
he's like, the stage isn't set. Not all the actors are here.
Because he has to be weird about it.
Yeah,
yeah.
The final actors haven't arrived.
Right, and then I believe the next scene, the final actors arrive,
which is the Gundam pilots.
Yeah, the Gundam pilots arrive and start
notably,
attacking.
Hiro and Duo have launched an attack on New Edwards.
Yeah,
and they are getting it cuts. There's a bunch of cuts here, but they're good cuts.
They're good cuts. It's all combat. It's all fights and stuff.
Yeah, and so it's cutting between Hiro and Duo attacking the base.
Yeah, and they're getting like bogged down, kind of.
Yeah. Well, and it also cuts back to the conference where they're evacuating the.
Yeah,
the
this is
staff.
where they're like, oh, we're under attack. This is a problem.
We need to get these HVTs out of here.
Right, and now. Treize is like, the stage is set. Let us lift the curtain.
Yeah, activate Order 66.
He basically does say activate Order 66.
And Lady Un pushes the Order 66 button on her little thing.
On her, she does everything via like her compact. Like sometimes it's a bomb, sometimes it's the activate Order 66 button. Like very versatile.
At which point we cut briefly to Zex.
Being like, okay, we've received the order, like, begin Operation... Begin Operation Daybreak.
Yeah. Which is their Order 66.
Right. And then, we cut to, like, the command center where it's like, oh my god, there are attacks all over the world. Oh,
there's revolts.
Yeah. Our troops are turning on each other all over the world.
Yeah.
We don't know why. And then Treize goes to Field Marshal white uniform and says, oh, let me evacuate you on our special, all of you, on our special shuttle, because it's
high
faster.
Speed.
Yeah, it's faster, it'll get you away. And the guy is like, that's a weird thing to do. I didn't expect that from you. And Treize is like, well, I am, a citizen of United Earth like everybody else. And the general's like, yeah, all right, fair enough. Like, but he's very like, I thought you were more of a dick than that. And it turns out he is, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because the scheme here...
Yeah, let's briefly
is to get all these guys on an Oz-marked transport. Because then they take off. And Hiro Yui sees an Oz-marked transport...
And sees a big, juicy target.
Aha! A chance to win the war, and destroys it.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst...
We're not quite there yet. Because notably, he does keep General Septim back.
Yeah, he does. He's like, General Septim, you should come with me. And General Septim is like, what? Why wouldn't I go with everybody else? And he's like, well, I have this special, even faster transport. And it's over here, and it's really cool, but it doesn't have very much room. He's like... Okay, sounds good.
He also, I think he alludes, like, we shouldn't keep all of our eggs in one basket.
He's basically like, you should be designated survivor, which, I mean, he will be, very briefly.
Yeah, so this is betrayal number 2.
This whole episode is a giant betrayal.
This episode is betrayal 2.
It's the big, because this is not just a betrayal. This is a coup d'état on the Earth government.
Yeah, essentially. Yep.
That Treize has orchestrated, sort of, not with the Gundam, but he's using the Gundam pilots to make it work. And while simultaneously, taking over all the military installations.
Yeah.
And it's working. But so the other two Gundam pilots, or two more of the Gundam pilots show up.
Ketra and
This
Troa.
is Ketra and Troa. They shoot... Troa shoots some missiles. They hit Wing and Death Scythe just as much as everything else, but they're made of Gundanium.
Well,
they can take it.
And notably, because Duo's like, you just shot at us, and Troa's like, yeah, because you were all bunched together.
You were all... Because
you were in melee.
They had switched to their melee weapons because they were getting bogged down. Troa's like, you're in melee. I have an artillery piece. What do you want me to do? And then they're kind of talking. Yeah. Duo is like threatening Troa. He's like, I'm gonna pay you back for hitting me with those missiles. And then this is where like, they see the Oz marked transport, and Hiro Yui goes...
Well, they actually fight. Duo and...
Yes, they, like, briefly lock blades.
Like lock blades temporarily.
It's not much of a
and
fight.
And that's when Hiro Yui spots the shiny.
He's like, aha, shiny! I have the air Gundam, this is my job! Flies up and destroys it.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
so then... he's like, I did it, mission success.
Yeah,
he
says mission accomplished.
And he has the smuggest look on his face.
Yeah, he does. And
which is about to be erased because suddenly then...
Well, so we're also in between this. We are getting all of these shots. Very, like, Star Wars Order 66. These different bases where the Oz troops are turning on their friends and cheering them.
Yeah. And then we also... This is where we go. We also go back to Nairobi.
Yeah.
Where Zex's lads and Noin are cleaning house.
Yeah, they are. They're like fighting these dudes, and then they shoot them, and Noin like
because
goes nuts on a dude.
Well, because one of the base commanders is like, one of the guys is like, "Sir, the base is overrun. We should
just surrender." And he's like, "What are you, a traitor?"
Like, he goes, "Oh, you're one of the traitors too," and shoots his own guy.
Commissars him, which is funny.
Yeah, yeah, he does commissar.
That's doubly funny when you're in a mech. Because it's not even like the guy; it's just the guy's mech.
Well, no, he blows that mech up.
I mean, sure,
he shoots it in the chest.
Yeah,
which we know that's where the pilot.
Sure, no, it definitely kills the guy. It's you're wasting material, right?
Oh no, for sure. But yeah, and then if you're the commissar of a Lehman Russ regiment and one Lehman Russ breaks formation, you just shoot the entire Lehman Russ.
I suppose it's true. I don't know how many has that ever happened. It doesn't matter. But yeah, and then Noin like kind of goes nuts on the guy.
Well, because Noin first tells him, "Hey, you guys are overrun. Surrender."
And he's like, "No, we'll never surrender to you traitors." And she's like,
"All right,
then
your funeral then.
Eat bullet."
Yeah.
And then he does.
Yeah.
And she's this whole time, she's been like, because when she was talking to Sex, she was like, "I'll go through with this attack because it's important and I trust you." And I'm like, aren't you a soldier that follows orders? I don't think
Zex is now your nominal commander?
Yeah, it's a little weird. But then she's like real into it once they actually like get in there.
Yeah.
She's like, "Nah, I will," because all of the Oz guys are like, "We are going to bring about a new world order." Like it's very idealistic. It's
well, Zex has a whole speech about they're gonna bring about a whole like a new way of doing things and everything.
Yeah. Well, this is where we get that because they're in order to get everyone to like stand down, they have to like make a speech about how like we're in charge now.
And he congratulates himself.
He does. But yeah, Noin is like, "Wow, making a new world order is really bloody." And it's like, yeah, woman, you're participating in a coup.
A really big coup at that.
Oh yeah, coup on
a global
the military
scale
of the
coup.
entire Earth at once. Like, what did you expect?
And then we come back to New Edwards, where Duo and Tro are still locking blades.
Yeah,
and Ketra's in vain trying to get them to stop.
Yeah, and then Wu Fei shows up, voice of reason Wu Fei, and I hate that because he's a dick.
He's even a dick about it when he comes here because he goes.
In this case, he's a correct dick.
Yeah, he says, "Aren't you tired of fighting these meaningless battles?"
Yeah,
and they're all like, "The fuck did you just say?"
What are you talking about? Like, first of all, they're like, "What do you mean meaningless? We just destroyed like the entire enemy command structure." And two, well, we don't like need combat to orgasm, unlike you. So, nah, we're good.
Well, and then and Hero's like, "What are you talking about? We just killed
them all.
We killed all the Oz leaders. We've won." And Wu Fei goes,
like, "No, you didn't. If you turn on the news for like 10 seconds, you effing dumbasses, implied, you'll see that no, you just killed everyone who was committed to peace."
Yeah. And this is we get a reaction shot from Relina, and she sees Hiro's Gundam. She drops a vase off of a very high floor.
Yeah, she sees Hiro, like, again, kill all of the peace committed people, and she's like, oh, that's my last name.
And then we cut to Treize's aircraft, because during this news broadcast, there's a statement from General
Septim is the one who's on the news being like, they just killed all of our peaceful people, like, we have to go to war, right? Like, this is a flagrant, breach of our sovereignty, and also they murdered a bunch of people. Like destroy the colonies.
And
then they go, thank you for making that statement. You did a really good job. And he's like, thanks. He's like slumped in his chair. He's like, all my friends are dead, and I'm actually kind of sad about that.
And then Lady N's like, don't worry, you'll be joining them soon. And
presses a button. Again, I think on her compact.
Yeah.
Because it just does everything. That opens the bottom ramp of the plane while in flight and just drops him and his chair. Drops him and his chair out of it, but not the table.
Yeah, I was about to say.
The table is connected to the
ramp. It's
ramp.
bolted to the ramp.
Yeah.
Treize has a trapdoor ramp in his personal,
don't
jet.
Drop them into a pit of sharks, just drop them out of your special kill this man jet. And then as the man is falling, Lady Un takes aim and shoots him in the head while he's mid-fall.
Why would you shoot a man after dropping him from a plane?
Yeah, it's very, Lady Un and Bane have very different philosophies on plane death.
And Treize...
And this is our third betrayal, because this is a separate betrayal from the coup. Yeah. This is him betraying the guy who kind of thought he was in on the coup with him.
Yeah, he kind of thought he was... Well, he didn't even know the coup was happening.
He didn't know it was really a coup, but he thought that he
thinks he's on Treize's shot. He thinks they're of the same mind here.
Yeah. And turns out, no. Because Treize
You were merely a pawn.
Yeah, Treize is going to bring in a new world order that will rule the galaxy, or whatever. With rose bubble bath.
Yeah. Well, and notably, as this is all going on, he's just lounging in his chair.
Yeah, he's just like, everything is proceeding as I have foreseen it.
Yeah. Then we cut back to the Gundams and their whole thing.
and Wu Fei is like, well, y'all are idiots, but I'm gonna take down Oz all by myself. And then we cut to a team shot of all 5 Gundams in flagrant disregard for anything about doing anything by oneself.
Yeah. And that's where we end the episode.
It's really good.
Oh, it was
a lot of fun.
Very,
the jokes are funny, the action is great, the characters are fun. This is where the show gets good. It's had good moments previously, but this episode is good.
Yeah, and it'll pick up from here too.
It does. It continues to pick up. There's a couple of
more episodes that I remember vaguely that kind of drag here, but not very many.
But not very. It's basically every time we have to deal with Relina, it just kind of drags.
Yeah, there's also one with Wu Fei that kind of drags. If I remember, the Wu Fei focus episode that's coming up also kind of drags a bit.
But that is a really good moment at the end where Wu Fei's a moron.
It does.
Because Wu Fei's correct here, and he will never be correct again.
Yeah,
that's the story of Wu Fei.
Yeah, it's the story of Wu Fei.
I also don't know why Wu Fei knew what was going on when no one else did.
No, that's never stated.
He's kind of smarter than the rest of them, or something.
Maybe he has better intel.
By the way he's animated, he looks older.
He does look older, but I think they're all the same age.
I think they're all supposed to be the same age. But also, I get the impression that the reason he did... I get the impression he's not taking orders from back home. I get the impression that that's why he didn't get conned by this, is because they all received orders from back home to go do this thing, which are part of the betrayal, right? And Wu Fei has just been doing stuff on his own, because he's just been figuring out his own targets and doesn't care, and
he was basically just sent down and told, F up Oz.
Right, and he's
you're on your own.
That.
Good luck, you're on your own.
But so this sort of misdirection didn't.
That's distinctly possible. Especially he does use more SIGINT and stuff like that than everyone else
he just in general has more he feels like he has more autonomy.
He's also
just been busy killing people. He's just while the rest of them have been figuring out, like, or not figuring out what's going on, rather, he's just been on a murder spree.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
you know, Wu Fei.
Yep. So that's the end of episode 7, and that is the end of this episode of Mecha Rewatch. Thanks
Yeah.
for tuning in. I plan on posting this on Spotify as well as YouTube.
Oh, well, wherever you get your podcast.
I wouldn't go that far because
No, that's fair.
I'm not going to.
I'm not going to put it on, like, Apple.
No.
That's a pain.
No.
Just YouTube and Spotify, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Direct download. DM us on Discord. We'll just send it to you.
Until then.
Just send you the files.
Yeah. Peace.